Hello, and welcome to Solarpunk Sangha podcast. This is episode 3, October 3rd, 2024, and we're introducing Civic Notes as a tool for civic engagement. And today we're going to be focusing on planning. The, I guess, most important thing when trying to do an app is to know exactly how it flows and functions so that there's very little issues in the long term in creating any technical debt for all of us. So that's going to be a breakdown of a Airtable, product planner Airtable that I have available on my Superpair profile. You can go to superpair.com/rapidbadgenath and you will be able to find um, the link to download the SaaS planner, the curriculum planner, and I believe the media library. Maybe I think one more additional item is there, but do check it out. I will be using one that I will also carry over into the design process. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to, here goes Signal. All right. Well, this is, no, let me just double check. Yep, we're on Signal. Okay, great. So what I have created here is a product planner. So in making digital products these days, there's a lot of standard procedures that we try to there we go. Let me put myself back in there. We try to pre-plan. It's basically a template uh, that's shared within an organization. So what I did was try to uh, accumulate many different ideas across product design, product, just general product management, and product ownership. From a development standpoint, this is not necessarily what you would look like, what it would be when it's handed over for a ticketing system on working on incremental items throughout the app. Because we're kind of just solo doing this, we're planning ahead what the flows are and checking off you know a checklist of items that we plan, build, and incorporate in Figma, and then add it to the prototype, so that when it is ready to do full handover to do an app development, like on iOS, or you could use, or even a web development. That should be something that's very specific to developers, but this is more or less the UX UI planning on the front end. So the back end stuff is not covered in this session or upcoming sessions. I think that will set aside for now, maybe for privacy, maybe for technicalities. But for now, we're going to talk about the outline of this document. And the outline of this document, the SaaS product planner, is broken into all like a 360 view of what a product experience looks like, from why you're building, the objectives in building out an application. For the first part, of course, is acquiring users, but this application is going to be for governance technology. So it's a very agnostic approach to, I guess you could say, public meeting software or meeting software in general. And in doing so, it allows for the flexibility between, let's say, a local government or a larger organization voting internally on items. So with that in mind, um, we'll go through each tabs just to get a feel of these fields so that if you are planning or you find it beneficial to you to use this planner, it gives you the opportunity to fill in the blanks. Now, I'll go through the tabs quickly and then we'll come back to the OKR. OKR stands for objectives and key results. So you have vision, mission, goals, objectives, key results. And their key results are from activities that are produced from the app, right? Acquire first 100 customers, you're gonna need to use that key result, shared between marketing, um, SEO, whatever your way of acquisition, retention, and efficiency, which we'll talk about the Oracle, where I got this breakdown from. Personas. Okay, so you may see some of the names as indicators towards who can interact or what the intent this is. But a persona, it's basically who's going to use this app, right? So in this case, of course, we're citizens and we are laborers and we are different roles within the community, but we're also not the public administrators at a local government, right? Which is mainly the interface where the majority of the work will come into play in this entire exploration is like the back end of like who can, upload files, create meetings, et cetera, et cetera. What we're building now is a prototype for the citizen facing app, what you would go and interact with. So a lot of these industries are mostly for future planning, right? Stilton learning. Still, oh, okay, okay. I, Jarl Marx. I mean, it's a Skyrim reference and Karl Marx, but you can have fun with it. Um, the personas do generate industry-specific concerns or requirements that we will uh, go down the line and see with these flows and stories. UX nuggets. This is connected to the research process that's involved with understanding who the personas are, what they're saying, what their needs are, what their pain points are, and it connects specific use cases, which is going to be the next tab. And you can see that there are motivations that personas have in going to the target application that we're going for as a registrar, which is what public meetings are hosted off of. And in doing so, we can generate, nuggets are basically feedback, but feedback with a lot of different dimensions behind it. Why is that important? Because in the process of researching and creating, a variety of artifacts that generate this sort of controlled experience on an application, if you're living in New York, want to take the subway down to the city hall, that is the first one here. It's hard to get to, right? So we have to contextualize the experience and be able to generate the feedback that addresses it so that we're addressing negative experiences, reinforcing positive experiences, innovating off of neutral experiences. And if you're familiar with building out requirements for products, this is the same case with use cases. It's just local participation, local insights, local cooperative development. And this can go on and on and on and on because there's going to be plenty of use cases with governance, interface, and technology. If you think about just the local government, how it is managed, there's contracts, biddings, there's so like just the necessity for public communication, the internal procedures of how to go and publish stuff. It's a mess, right? So the use cases that we will develop over time, and as the interfaces for both the front citizen facing and the back governance, management, administrative end, will be fleshed out to the point where these nuances can be, managed to the T. And progressing along, if anyone has ever built out the user journey, a user journey map, or just the journeys that will be taken amongst your information architecture, this should be pretty simple. Home pages, your user profiles, the actual agenda and meeting software. So all these journeys are kind of like the big use cases that are translated for specific experiences. Yeah, there's first time UX for signing up. Okay, once you sign up, you got to log in. There's that little nuance. But when you're in the main homepage and you're scrolling through, you want to be able to navigate from certain points. So this is how journeys are accounted for and where they go and connect. So the more refined um, your journeys are, further down the line with flows and stories and jobs, they become more articulated and more direct towards a specific experience that you're going after. And it's probably easier to see from here, but with flows, these are like micro, or from the macro, you get a little bit, I don't know what in between a micro and a macro is. A mid-core element of it is the refined steps. Like if you were to sign up and you have a few slides to go through, that needs to be um, called a flow. And then that job will progress you to one screen, one screen, one screen, one screen, sign up, sign in. So how do you create a petition? How do you leave a civic note, aka video comment? Uh, how do you do all of these things? So the flows are there to contain the stories that the personas go and interact with. If you're a public administrator, um, you're more than likely going to pay attention to the back end stuff. Like, how do I add a meeting? How do I add agenda items? How do I do this? As I said before, this is more of the citizen, like what you as a citizen will be interacting with. So that information is more or less contextualized with what you can do on the app and what you don't have permission to do because of role permissions. Stories. This breakdown is simply, you know, a petition. If you're going to sign up for a petition, where is it going to fit? How with the jobs will it work? What exactly is it that you want to do? Right. So this is all just more or less taking a project management template and throwing it on there. And the neat thing about stories, flows, and job, all the journey flows and stories coming to UX jobs, you can see the micro interactions build out, right? So you go from the big flow to the story itself to the micro interaction, right? And you can write these out. User clicks on sign up button and is redirected to the next page. It's not rocket science when you're reading it, but you can, of course, add microcopy and design notes into it so that there are ways for you to communicate to a developer pretty easily because it's concatenated information, such as here you have concatenated information in the trace, right? Right. So it will build whatever information that you put into it. All right, so it'll do it eventually. I gotta rework it. But the whole point is that the jobs will generate instructional messages to the developer. So that process is kind of like, okay, you just consult this or you consult the handover document. But internally, you're just keeping track and planning it as if you were to in the first place. Data sets, I don't think I have this up and running, but oh yeah, I do. I did outline this, but it's gonna take a while to load. I don't know why. Okay. So data sets from our last discussion is like a CMS, a collection, and it's gonna have all these properties, right? Agenda title, types, IDs, um, and so on. All right, so I don't know why. Yeah, that should, yeah, there it is. Okay, I thought I was going crazy. But you could write out the instruction of the job so that the behavior is programmable. There we go. I thought I was going crazy. Yeah. All right, but to go back to the beginning, um, and more or less why some of these, no, this is not that one, this is being on. Here we go. In case you're wondering what browser this is, it's Sigma OS. It's a premium browser that allows for multiple workspaces and groupings internally. Mm, This planning discovery process is what I'll go over in the economy as a program process in more detail. So Civic Notes is prioritizing a lot of these registers, right? Public administrative stuff, and not necessarily mission stuff. Although that could be like a secondary internal product for public administrators or the government to governance to report this data from their departments. And it populates into an agenda item, and you get a more detailed kind of like the presentation that is shown at a public meeting is kind of put into a card, right? That or a page that you can go and look on. And all this information will connect. Not the deal, okay. Yeah, so this product planner essentially provides the insights to create what we're going to do in Figma. I said I'll start to go back to the beginning of the OKR, but we'll jump to Figma as soon as I can. Stop sharing. So you see me looking at my screen, trying to share a window. Right. So this is a, pretty simple document that houses the current, um, I guess, a Figma library for components that will be used. But as you can probably see from the preview I sent out the last couple of days, I feel I can't zoom. Zoom in. Okay. No, zoom. Whatever. It'll effectively look like this, right? But with prototyping and interactions and um, yeah, so effectively this is just catching up on what is kind of currently available and what is being made. And I will probably just do pure design sessions. I don't know how if it should be a live session and just do it as an open design session. I haven't really considered that. Um, but it will come to pass that it needs to be built because I'm struggling to find the InVision PDF file that contains all 60 something images. It's been a long couple of days, a long week. I've been sick. So, um, let's see. In Figma, as you can probably discern, we build out components, and in a framework, we can, make a longer frame here, and you could scroll down, and it'll be a fully interactive prototype that emulates the process of a public meeting. And I don't want to linger too much on Figma as it's currently incomplete and subject to creating. By creating, I mean just going through and just doing live sessions, flow after flow. Let's go back to the Airtable. So is this document going to be publicly available? I think at some point there will be a publication of like, what's the MVP and this is how it looks like, because that enables us to obviously share the rationale and idea, but it allows for others to improve on, the function and flow and utilization of whatever backend tools that they need. So journey, flow theme, epic name, yeah, all this is concatenated information. It's meant to be a very simple document to keep, to write out user stories, to write out behaviors, to translate over to a development team. Um, And for the most part, it's initializing this process of saying, this is what the documentation will look like. This is what the characteristics of software planning is like now, at least from an agile perspective, because most of this information is going to be incrementally added once an MVP is launched. Mm. So it's not a perfect process and certainly needs to be, brought up to a standard in order for it to be adapted, right? Nobody in their right mind would adapt a MVP that doesn't have a full functionality, right? So it needs to be fleshed out. And over the course of the next couple weeks, I think we can knock out this document. And of course, it will translate into the designs and updates as to where the design process is, but we'll open it up, show it. I think as far as being on camera and designing it is a little bit kind of weird because I have to talk out the thought process, which I normally internalize, and um, it's kind of slow to talk and do that, but whatever. I do have, and I am rushing and speeding through this content for the most part because I do have a hard cutoff. Um, and I think it will be beneficial to all of us to maybe just recap, Civic Notes itself, uh, and flip the order where it should have been. It's like, hey, this is no, you get the product stuff first, you get the information first, so you know exactly, what to expect with the application. So let's go back real quick. I did add this because I'm launching it tomorrow. If for some reason you do see this, what did I fix? This is still bugging me, man. And I don't even know why it's doing that. And it even fixed it. Tell me. Okay, so civic notes. If you've already read this, I've said this several times already. Um, it's summer of 16 was hot. I didn't want to go, so I just decided to make this app. And in the process, you know, there's a module that's open. Ah, yeah, I did redo the table, so it's a little bit cleaner. All right, so these are the book recommendations. There's so many. There's Malatesta that you need to get through, but I think the struggle is you don't want to lend. This isn't a lesson per se. It's a technical discussion of what an application looks like. But if I'm voicing the realization of what the product, and so you say it's like what's your origin story, right? Like it shouldn't be surprising. It's 2024. We're about to enter World War III. Right? So there's that component, but there's also like the poor nature of how government websites flow and function. And what I mean by that is, let me pull up Hollywood, Florida, their official website, and I'm going to share that screen. Mm. I'm all over the place because this is practically unplanned. Just get on, stream, do it, generate that content, right? So my idea was like to take on Granicus is the major provider for I think a few million local government uh, public meetings technology, right? So they have pretty much a monopoly. Here we go. So if you go to agenda minutes, this is exactly what. Stare at this tab instead. So this isn't pretty, right? Yeah, it's a table. It's Granicus, right? So yeah, we know it's Granicus. Let's inspect. Do they still do it? Do they have listeners on? No, they don't. Okay. So anyway, this is ugly, and we're gonna improve this. Like, if you're a citizen of Hollywood and you're trying to figure out like what's on the agenda of this technical advisory meeting, you gotta go in, you gotta download a PDF, right? And you get this file. Okay. And you're not gonna know a damn thing. Who is this person? Right? Where are they working on? What is this technical request as it's connected to a registry? I'm saying this out loud for the notion that this is a universal problem, right? It's not necessarily a city of Hollywood problem. Of course, I have the in Figma and different Figma files. I have the screenshots that are available that I need to compile and put together for our next session, which I'll set a reminder for myself to make sure that happens. But yeah, I mean, look at this. It's not today's a third. Okay, so let's see if we can find a meeting that happened. 12, 16, 24. Are all these pre-planned? Oh yeah, there. Here we go. So the agenda packet, the video, you can see memorandums, which is typically postmortem, all this postmortem stuff, the minutes. Look how inconsistent all this information is from just the city of Hollywood standpoint. You know what I mean? Like, roll call, like you can't visually see, did something get approved? Did something get disapproved? Who approved it? Um, and I'm going to keep going with this because it's fascinating to me that ancient technology like this, and when I mean ancient, it's not even that old. We're talking about maybe within the last 10 years or so, there's been zero design improvements at all, right? So these are all back end software that citizens can go and access a really crappy front end. The whole agenda with Civic Notes is to make all this user friendly. I know I'm a power user of this. Oops. It's unbelievable. You don't like nothing is actually connected. You know what I mean? Like nothing in regards to the city ordinances, charters, where is it? It's all decentralized from the actual legislative body of information. Why? And there could be a couple reasons why you don't want to stack that information on, but you could always do pull requests to populate, on a specific page for citizens to go and look at. So, um, and with looking at which tab, who is, if I'm looking at Hollywood, blah, 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 Hollywood, Florida's website. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's a hodgepodge of it is overwhelming. It really, really is. So if we can redo all this, right, and kind of standardize the flow of it. So if we look at Dave Florida, you're gonna find, I don't know if you could see it, but right here, Granicus, right? They don't even change the favicon, which is pretty funny. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Here we go. Public meeting notices, not necessarily the minutes itself. All right, so we have different formattings. There's a lot of inconsistencies, right? Even internally. Davey has a nicer website than Hollywood, I have to admit. Hey, what are they doing? Are we actually doing anything sustainable here? I should get a grant. Give me money, Davey. Green local government grants. Restore native tree canopy. Oh, these are grants they got. Okay, well, hmm. Will I go to my city to lobby them to get something? Yeah, why not? Um, yeah, a lot of this is just the circles of sustainability takes care of all this, and in fact, it does more, right? So I was sorry. This is the website I was talking about with grants. They get grants. So if I were to go back to Hollywood, very messy, right? Agenda minutes, you get your back end. And again, I've done this walkthrough as well. I've done PDF document. Oh, God, I have to upload all this information to a lesson, don't I? Yes. So part of the documentation will be uploaded. How? Um, a program into page. So at the segments, let's go share this tab somewhere in the module, and maybe for the lessons, we'll be. This is a creative challenge, and I'm doing it live. The point is that every exploration may have a unique pool of resources, so it should populate where necessary. The question is, where is it going to be necessary for it to populate? Under recommended literature, as I mentioned before, that since I did this table, we could probably do a few movies or something. I don't know. We'll figure that one out. But yeah, no, we will. Let me stop sharing for a moment and just focus on the screen. Yeah, so we will be able to have the SaaS planner, the previous documentation that I have in my iCloud mapped out to the Figma file for resources. And then I wonder, would that be advisable to embed a Figma file onto an exploration page? Hmm. Got to get back to that one. I'll let you know. It doesn't sound like a good experience, to be honest. If I were, mm, I gotta think about that over the weekend. So, okay, so let me reiterate what we've covered so far. I'm gonna close out some of these tabs while I do that. I basically walked through the, I'm gonna share my screen. We walked through, what the hell, what is gesture blocking oven? We walked through the product planner, the OKRs. Not too concerned about filling this one out specifically, but we talked over it. It's internal usage for civilians to go and interact with their current legislation, provide, the commentary, et cetera, et cetera. But the internal governance technology is probably going to be the bulk of the writing, which implies that all the back end city clerking information that is required for a city to adapt a product, and sorry, bid and adapt a product, is a whole other, you know, OKR by itself. But the the external citizen facing doesn't necessarily need to be in the government's hands, right? So it's a community that exists outside of it, hence Civic Notes, a platform, a social platform. Um, and in doing so, it could self-moderate for those who are in those cities and capable of doing so. Training, of course, can be provided for that as a retention initiative. Um, yeah, and all that will be included in there. So if you're a super user or a super admin, you will have your different roles in the community, and you have different roles on the platform because it makes sense that you need to have specific jobs that allow you to moderate content so that myself or a team that in the future that is doing that will not have to be like a Mark Zuckerberg situation where they're evading the responsibility of platforms, right, of moderating and setting regulation and standards. They don't do that because they don't call themselves a platform, because then it makes it far more expensive to maintain themselves and legitimize them without being like subject to being shut down by FEC, no, FCC. Anyway, so OKRs, personas, who engage with it, the UX layers. spend a couple minutes on this because I think rather it's a rather important thing to see, given that it's not very standard, because we're telling narratives in design, right? And if you're telling a narrative of, oh, I'm too lazy to go to a public meeting, then nobody's going to want to be able to interface with the app. But like then you're talking about accessibility issues, more importantly, right? So in translating some of the feedback and translating some of the insights that are generated from this, it's important not to assume and generalize, but to actually go and, ask around and do things yourself. All of this information that I'm providing to you has come from that, and I have it in the documentation that will be in the Figma file. But beyond that, you have the general direct experience of going to a public meeting and being weirdly confused about how strongly regimented these meetings go. And in that regimentation, it intimidates a lot of people. So it's putting on different hats, different personas, have different psychologies, different technical expertise. You know, someone who is very well versed in local governments, but they are typically elderly. From my experience, they struggle to go to a meeting to voice their concern, and oftentimes they find it a physical challenge. I find it a physical challenge to stand in line to give a citizen's comment, because you have to physically go there, right? And that's not being lazy. It's like, what if you don't have parking? What if you can't make it? What if there's no accommodations? What if you go there and you don't get an opportunity? Um, this is the feedback and I think, as I'm describing it to you, you have your own. I'll be happy to hear it and incorporate it into the nuggets. Why is it a chick? Because yeah. If you look up UX nuggets, there's someone from what's that? WeWork, a VP of operations designed this process, and I find it very useful, but WeWork obviously doesn't really care or acted on it. That's what makes you think about it, about these very well financed companies and their VPs or whatever. They spend a lot of time publishing stuff on LinkedIn, Medium, and so on, but the company itself is just a scam. It's like you're doing a lot of great technical magic, and it's for, you know, what's his face who made it go bank, Alex Newman Free. I don't know, who cares? Um, some Zionist scammer, um, which is pretty much what he is. Call them out what they are, demons. But with that in mind, these these approaches to product planning pretty neat. They fill in a lot of niches that cover the gaps where we don't see them, and it tells the story for people who can and can't make it. um and I know in our next session, because I'm going to be speeding through this, and I have a 3 o'clock with Nika and covering David Graeber's work. Um, Gotta look at the invite again on Zoom. Was there ever an old good internet with Cory Doctorow? Cool. So we'll have the old sketch files that I produce, the artifacts that came from that, as the secondary walkthrough. And in there, we can just, be able to translate what I had in that document, in those artifacts into the documents. And then hopefully by the third session, we'll just start designing next week. But yeah, we'll fill this out, keep it going. Oh yeah, I forgot about the Oracle stuff. I have time. So if you Google Oracle CX KPI, you're going to find this PDF, and it's going to give you a ton of information. Um, ARE, acquisition, retention, and efficiency. If you are looking at it from very high level perspective, these are the things that you need to keep in mind. Uh, Direct traffic, operational, this the strategic and operational element of it. I think if you read the PDF, it gives you a little bit more intuition to reliability of these metrics, because Oracle, of course, Oracle servers, database management requires a hell of a lot of um, redundancy in their availability. So the strategic and operational standpoint is somewhat of a blessing to see, because it facilitates a lot of different nuance when it comes to the suite or the shareholders and the strategic element versus the departments that handle the operational aspects of things. Um, but the framework for our KPIs and the sentence, I guess you could say, that initiates the thought process behind of what we're looking for is, how are ARE my customers doing, right? So think of that phrase, does it resonate? Let me know. But for now, let me stop sharing. Let me get ready for my three, but pretty simple, easy introduction. I don't think I'm going to hop on tomorrow, um, maybe just to figure out the website on the homepage before the launch. I may have to hide that section because it's bothersome. As a CSS, it just breaks on, across the board. And I may have to just hide it. What can you do? Um, put that banner back on. So without further ado, thank you for joining us on the stream. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, do all the good social media stuff. Tell people to go to public meetings, get involved in their local government, or at least go to their website and, get used to what resources are available, because you might be missing out on really critical information for emergencies, for example, emergency services. Um, and if you think about what can be improved upon, contact them. I don't, I've never ran outside New York. I never ran into an issue with someone working at local government that isn't and willing to be open to feedback, especially for digital technology. The problem, of course, is their contracts that they're kind of locked into. But if you're able to talk to them, um, maybe not necessarily lobby them, but voice your concerns about what you see in the city, uh, and instead of going to the city hall, we can build the city hall into our apps, which is what the Civic Notes is designed to do. But that will be in the future. And hopefully by the second or third session, we will design some of the homepage, et cetera, et cetera. It's very, very straightforward stuff that you'll see in Figma, and it'll be fun. It'll be straightforward, easy, kind of chill, have some music in the background, and we'll enjoy it. But in the meantime, have a good day, have a good night, have a good whatever. Tomorrow, October 4th, I'm launching on Product Hunt. Um, Look forward to that. I'm just gonna bust it then forget about it, maybe reply to people, and then continue working on the website and monitor any feedback that I get. So in the meantime, have a good day. Take care. Peace. Become sustainable and enjoy life. Nope, that's not a good outro. Let's redo that. Have a good day. Become sustainable. No, I gotta work on an outro. I gotta work on a lot of shit. Become sustainable. Bye. No, I'm gonna play an outro. How do I do this?